Welcome back, tribe. I have an episode here from CHZO. It says London is finished. Get out while you can.
That's how, when you get to 65, if you've not looked after yourself financially, you're going to be in trouble. Physically, you're in trouble. Mentally in trouble, and also with your family. Because there's a lot of men now who are 65 and have got no one around them.
Do you think you're staying here until 60?
I don't intend to be here in the next year. I don't intend to be in this country. This country is rubbish. No. People are just pretending. No. You're working literally to pay your bills. And it wasn't like that years ago. So when people say, oh, but you're meant to work. Yes, you're meant to work. But when I was looking at some stats, in the 1980s, the average home was 200 and... let me find it now. So I'm not misquoting. 1 second. Let me find this. In 1985, the average house price in the UK was £29,000. The average salary was £14,000. Look at this. The average salary was £14,000 in 1985, and the average home was 29 grand. That was just double. The average salary now in the UK is what?
Your woman could pay that in 4 years.
The average salary now in the UK is roughly about 30 odd K. The average property price in the UK now is 240 something for a house. It's 10 times nearly. It wasn't like that. Is it? Imagine now. So what we're meant to be on right now, technically, is if the average is 240, if we were to keep with the level or the ratio back then, we should be on about 100K.
Yeah.
If the average was 100K, who would be stressed right now?
No one.
You should have 140K.
We're finished. This country, we're working just to pay bills.
Bro, one of the men yesterday.
I'm officially done.
So this country's bad to live in if let's say you don't have money, right?
What? Yeah.
But I was gonna say to you, like, what would you say it's good if you have money? Like, where would you say like the top places to live if you do have money?
Okay, so I haven't done enough research to be able to give that. All I can go by is what I've seen in England and then the small I've seen in Atlanta when I went and in Ghana when I've been, but only the small. I can't talk for the whole of it.
Of course.
But looking at London, and I always make a point that I live in Zone 5. I live in Croydon. I've got a 2-bed flat that I'm paying $13.50 for. When I start calculating all of my extra expenses, okay, so, and I always like to do the math, so $13.50, you add another £100 per council tax, that's $14.50. Add another sort of $2.50 free bills for your electric, water, and all of that, and gas. That's now $14.50, let's call it $16.50, yeah? Talk about food. Let's call it what, £200 a month? That's $18.50. Let's talk about transport. £50 a week? It's another $200. That's $2,050, yeah? Remember, I haven't bought any clothes. I haven't done anything yet. I'm on $2,050. What else I may have missed out? Let's say I've got a car.
Yeah.
You know, the typical thing nowadays is to finance or lease. Let's say I've got a little Golf. That might cost me what? Maybe...
Yeah.
How much is that? How much was your Mercedes you had a month? Okay, so let's call it $250. Let's call it $2,450 now. That's for your lease for your car. Now you got to talk insurance. Call it another £100. I'm on $2,550
bills.
I haven't done anything fancy yet.
Yeah.
Now, what is that salary-wise after tax? That's like a 40K salary.
Yeah.
You're just paying your bills.
Yeah.
One could argue and say, okay, you don't need to be in a 2-bed, you could be in a 1-bed. Even if it's a 1-bed, that would be about £1,200.
Yeah.
Because this is a 1-bed, right?
No, they're not going to say that. Yeah, this is a 1-bed. They're going to tell you go flat share.
Yeah. But I'm saying,
upstairs, flat share, the man them, so you might be paying like 8 bills.
But as a grown man of my age,
yeah.
And once again, this is not. People peak at different points, but most, and not that we should care what women say, but most of the stuff us guys tend to do is scares around women. I don't believe any woman who meets a guy who's 38, 39, 40, and he says he lives at home with his mum or rents a room. Generally, he's going to be like, oh, okay, that's fine. That's okay. How can you be a grown man and you're working full time in a first world country, yet you can't afford to live by yourself? On 40K, on 40K for you to survive and have a car. One could argue you don't need to have a leased car, but let's just say it's nice to have one.
Yeah.
You need to be on £2,500. That's just to break even.
Yeah.
So now let's add the rest of the stuff. Maybe you want to go on a little holiday. You maybe want to go to a local club, a little bar. That's another maybe £5 a month. Then you've got to talk about savings. That's another £5. So you need to be on about 3.5K a month, which is about what? A 50 odd salary. Who's earning 50K? There are people earning 50K, don't get me wrong. But the average salary in the UK is not that.
What's 50 after tax?
50 after tax, I'll tell you now. Let me get on my salary calculator. 1 second. They're looking at 50,000 divided by 12 is 4,000. So you're looking about minus 800. You're looking at about £3,300 after tax. But that, you might, if you're getting NI, if you're getting student loans, if you're getting anything else. So you're looking at about 3,300. So even on 50K, it's not enough. So typically, if you want to be a comfortable man, even by yourself, and this is in zone 5, I would say you need to be on 60,000 divided by 12 is 5,000. Take away another 1,000. Yeah, that'll give you just under 4K. And then bear in mind, if you want to buy a property on that, remember, typically it's 4.5. So 60 times 4.5, you can only buy a property that's 270 grand. You're not buying that in zone 5.
No.
You're not even you can't even get that in Kent.
No.
Like my mate's bought a property in he bought property in what area is it called? Gravesend.
Yeah.
The property was at 300 something grand.
Yeah.
Where are you going to find something for 270?
There's flats in that.
Yeah, but
it's not. Yeah.
What bedroom in? Add it in. You add it in.
the game is finished in this country.
Yeah.
And remember, that 270, remember, you got to put a 10% deposit down typically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be 27 grand. Now, if somebody's can only save £500 a month from their wage, let's do 27,000 divided by 500. It's going to take them 54 months, which is 5 years basically. It'll take you 5 years to save that 27 grand.
You see, when you was in Atlanta,
Yeah.
you seen the equivalent of what an area that's zone 5 in Atlanta will look like, and what you get for 270 in that area.
It was rubbish.
And what you get for 270 in that area, so £270 in dollars is what? That's 300 and something.
Yeah.
So what you get in the equivalent of zone 5 over there, the house is the house would be a madness.
Croydon.
The house would be a madness.
I live in Croydon and I can't afford, like on a salary of 60K, if I earned that, I can't afford to even buy in Croydon. I can't afford to buy a house in Croydon.
So for the average person, what do they do?
Nothing. Okay, look at inflation rates have gone up now. Mortgages have gone up.
Yeah.
Like there's guys I know who have got properties, bare properties. They're now trying to find 3.5 grand more every month just to cover their mortgages. This is real life. He's now trying to find 3.5 grand to cover his mortgages.
So here's some quick facts about what's actually going on. Some of the stuff you mentioned, for example, homes, and when you compare to wages, earnings was back then 4x. For example, he was quoting 1985 and it's now 8x or worse. It went from 4x to 8x in 40 years. In 1985, a pound back then is worth 30 pence today. The cashier gives you less than a third of goods, guys. If you go to the store to buy something, right? If we're talking about inflation and how much it's compounded, the average basket goods today that you would buy is 3 times what it was in the mid 80s. Okay. The bottom line is this: for the median household, the UK feels drearier, debt heavier, and less secure than it did in 85. And the numbers, all the statistics back this up. Exploding crime, exploding mass migration unchecked, exploding interest rates, exploding cost of living in general, exploding gas prices, electricity prices. Everybody feels like they're being squeezed. And it's not just the UK that's feeling this. We in America and just the Western world, most of the world, but the Western world in general, their purchasing power has more than halved since 1985. Can you imagine that? More than half. So whatever you were earning in 1985, you would have to earn, honestly, for the same level of affordability. If houses went up 8x, if groceries are up 3x, if you have a 5-fold jump in your energy bills, then you need to be earning, for example, if you made 10,000 pounds, let's just say in 1985, you need to be earning something in the range of 50 to 60,000, exactly the numbers he hit on, exactly numbers on an average wage, guys. This is what's insane. Do you understand what it means when we say average? That means everybody should be getting around these numbers without it being seen like you're doing well. It was very hard to earn this wage or something special. You had to have some kind of talent or a skill in the marketplace. This is just an average wage that we pay average jobs to do average things in society. Would have to be around 50 to 60,000 pounds to have the same affordability people had in 1985. What is happening? Earning 10,000 pounds. The numbers are similar for the United States and worse in some major metropolitan areas where inflation and cost of living has run away from wages.
What? This country's finished. Okay. Do you live by yourself?
No, I live with my mum.
Okay. Look at what you earn now as a 24-year-old. One would
Yeah.
argue and say you earn a decent wage for your age,
Mm.
for what you do.
Yeah.
Just imagine you stepped out your mum's house and
Yeah.
now you jumped into my shoes
Yeah.
of just say paying 1350 or even
Yeah.
paying 1200.
Yeah.
You calculate all of your expenses now. What would you have left?
So I'd probably break even and just be on zero.
And you're working full time.
Yeah, more than full time. Yeah.
Bro, people don't understand the problem we've got now. Imagine working full time.
I ain't never seen my bills on camera.
Mate,
You know what I'm saying?
it's a mess.
Because if I see my bills on camera, people are gonna dive in the Thames.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
like,
You just have to firm it.
that's a problem, man. And it's when people talk about, women are not being feminine as much, women this, women that. Bro, the men who were meant to lead financially, and you can get at me as you want. Generally speaking, the man is meant to be, in my opinion, he's meant to lead. They're not in all scenarios and circumstances, but women tend to like men to lead.
Mm.
And sometimes
Facts.
it has to be led with finances. But
Yeah.
we don't have, you can't even break even as a grown man
Yeah.
who's working full time now, 24, 25.
Mm.
You can afford to move out,
Yeah, just
but if
about.
you don't move out, you will
That
never
makes sense.
save to get a mortgage.
That's why I'm at my mum's. So I can save money.
You see what I mean? Every time we talk about dating and the woes in Western society, I told you guys it's an economic underpinning. The largest problem is men can't lead. They can't afford to be husbands. They can't afford to start families. They can't afford to take care of a woman as it was back in the old days. If we're talking about America, 1950s, that's the golden scenario people have in their head. You could work for the post office. You could buy a house. You could own a car or two, white picket fence, 2 kids, wife stays at home. She never has to work. This is what we mean when your wages have been cut by more than half, by more than twice what the earning power was back then. Way more than that. The fact that you could make in the UK was the example from 10K, you would now need to make 60K more actually. When you really factor in the total cost of living, their numbers at around 120K that they were quoting, if the average job paid around $110,000 to $120,000, you would feel like the postman felt in 1950, 1960 factory worker. Isn't that crazy? I mean, here's a few more insane stats that how we're backsliding in society. And these I pulled up for the UK specifically, food bank dependence. In 2010, the UK was giving out 41,000 emergency parcels handled by the Trussell Trust Centers. That number today has jumped to 2.9 million. That's a 70-fold explosion. Okay, let's talk about homeless families they're called temporary digs. A 2010 low point was 48,000 households. As of March 2024, it's 450,000. For the UK, that's the highest on record. It's up 145%. For the NHS, the treatment backlog in 97, just over 1 million people were waiting. As of April 2024, for the UK bros, the waitlist is 7.6 million. That's 7 times as many people. Let's talk about hospital bed capacity. In around 87 and 88, there were 299,000 beds available in England. In 88, as of 2019 and 2020, there's only 141,000 beds. The stock has halved while the population grew by 10 million. Productivity collapse. The UK private sector productivity now sits at 1.2% below 2007 and 0.7% below 2019. That is a once-in-a-century lost growth decade and a half. Here's how bad it got. The typical real wage rose around, they quote, 33% per decade from 1970 to 2007. In the 2010s, they grew less than 0%, costing the average worker 10,700 pounds in missing pay. Prison overcrowding. In 93, there were 44,000 prisoners in England and Wales. As of 2024, it's 86,000 and growing rapidly. The headcount doubled. As we mentioned earlier, crime exploded. Children in destitution. In 2017, guess how many? 350,000 children were classed as destitute in the UK. Do you know what that number is now in 2022? 1 million and growing. Almost triple in only 5 years. The antidepressants that we're prescribing to everybody. In 99, there was a little over 20 million items dispensed. Do you know what that is as of 22, 23? 86 million. It's a 4-fold surge with 8.6 million patients. You want to talk about the income gap widening? The Gini coefficient for disposable income was 0.25 in 1979. As of 2024, it's 0.33, a step change that's locked in high inequality for 35 years. So if you put this all together, you would pretty much sum it up as more people rely on charity for food and shelter. They wait far longer for healthcare. They work in a low growth, low wage economy and live in a society that locks up more people, medicates more, and shares prosperity less. Numbers rarely will tell this whole story, of course, but these are the ones that should stand out to everybody. This is what people are shouting from the rooftops when they say it feels like we're going backwards. It's getting harder despite all the hard work I'm putting in. I'm asked to do more while receiving less. I can't even walk outside anymore. None of the services work. The government seems broken. It goes on and on.
and then you've got parents kicking out their children early
I can put it away
because they don't get on, and you're starting at a minus. Maybe it's the children who are being too rebellious, so therefore the parents kick them out. But once again, this situation we're in right now is effed. You're working full time.
Yeah.
And if you moved out, you would just about break even.
Yeah.
All your luxuries, gone.
Yeah, I'd have nothing.
Nah, it's finished. 2,500 is what you need to break even to live by yourself in zone 5.
Yeah.
In zone 5, 2,500. And someone could argue once again, you don't need to have a car. That's true. So let's take away the car out of there. That will drop you down to maybe 2,050, which is basically, what is that salary?
But then you're at the mercy of public transport. Yeah. So you could argue you lose money.
By the time you're going to
lose money from public transport.
It's mad.
And just time. Yeah.
Everyone's faking happiness right now.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's faking happiness. But unless you're on that sort of money, or you're renting a room, or you've got a council property or housing association, you're struggling. Because even when people think, oh, I'm going to earn 100K and be a millionaire, you're going to be on just above or under 5K after tax. And if you're going to be a family man, there's nothing left.
Bro, I was talking to someone yesterday while working. She was mentioning about holidays and saying when they went on their last holiday, they tried to take the kids out of school free, I think 3 or 4 days early, because they said it's cheaper for them to pay the fine with schools than pay, you know what I mean, the extra for the hotel and the airline. And I was thinking to myself, has it become that bad now that parents are just like, you know what? The kids are going to have to miss school so that we could still kind of get some family time. And she was like, they could just about get one holiday a year now. And I said, whoa, it's scary that inflation has hit everything so bad that it's terrible. You know what I mean? Kids are going to, like, soon kids, the only holidays they're going to be getting is like Butlins or...
Butlins is expensive, you know? Butlins is expensive. You can go abroad for what you pay for Butlins.
Bro, I was looking at staycations and I saw like one nice like little spot in Devon. So I looked at it, then I went on Holiday Pirates and I looked at Morocco.
Yeah.
Same
price. You can go abroad for
even slightly cheaper Morocco.
Yeah. Have a better time and you're there for more days.
It's mad.
Yeah.
It's proper mad.
But there's still no solutions though. Like, so what? You're just meant to just stay here and...
It's fucking my hairline, man.
Bro, there's nothing.
Fucking my hairline. Look at my hair.
I don't sound the shit. There's like the civil players and the Femela Bushes. They go to war.
Mm-hmm.
They riot. We're not doing that here. No one wants to go to jail. So there's nothing that's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Like the banks are in control. There's nothing that's going to happen. The Chancellor of Czechia is doing whatever he needs to do. Like the banks have messed everything up. COVID happened and people use COVID as an excuse. For me, I don't want to be no conspiracy theorist, but for me, once again, it was a whole heap of nonsense. What they did, mess up the economy, gave away a whole heap of free money. When you do what they call quantitative easing, what happens is that the value of everything goes down, inflation goes up. And this is the problem we've got now. We're in trouble. And I'm not saying this lightly, that everyone's got to figure out what they're doing. Because you cannot be working full-time as a grown adult and have nothing left. You haven't done anything fancy. You haven't gone to any West End restaurant in Mayfair. You're just paying your bills. No. I'm out of this place. I'm out of this place. I'm not here long. And then even the people's temperament. People are not happy. There's no money in circulation. Like, even just when people have money, you can put money into there. Like, I used to get a haircut every week. It's every 2 weeks now. I'm not paying for a haircut. I'm not paying £30 every single week. And these are little things that people don't realize is now, even the barber now who might have been getting that £30 of me every week is now not getting 120 a month. He's now getting 60 a month. Like, there's no money.
Bro,
rubbish. Imagine things are so tight that people are telling you to cancel a £13-14 a month Netflix subscription.
Yeah.
And you think about it, £13 a month. We're in a first world country and people are having to resort to saving £13 a month where they can, or however much Netflix is. Something that your only form of escape is something that you can just about sit home and say, okay, let me fling this on and watch. People are telling you to cancel that. Cancel your membership, gym membership, cancel your Netflix. Everything that gives you that escapism, that gives you balance, cancel it. No, this country's finished. Finish. Rubbish! Even what they do with the student loans now. So apparently everyone who starts university coming up now, apparently back in the day, the term for your student loan, I don't want to paraphrase. I think what I do, I'll send it to you so you can put it on there. But the student loans things, it's all changed now in the fact of what you pay back. I can't remember. This country is finished. Get out while you can. This country is finished.
Yeah. We've been covering videos like that. His sentiment is shared by quite a lot of people, unfortunately, and we're watching the downfall. You can get arrested for mean tweets. This guy says, that's why I got out to the Caribbean 13 years ago. Was working 11 hours a day as a nurse, run ragged to just about meet my bills. In the Caribbean, people are also struggling. Housing is expensive, but the quality of life is way better. Can go for a swim in the sea, a bike ride, or a jog after they work, as they finish work earlier. Being poor in Britain is very expensive. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. I bought a 1-bed flat in 1987 for £30,000 on a salary of $10K. Those were the numbers I was telling you. You lads are spot on. We've been completely shafted. They have us where they want us, surviving. And yet, Asda, Tesco, Shell, BP, Octopus, Water Rates, British Gas, just to name a few, are publishing record profits year after year after year. Let that sink in. Moved to East Midlands 6 years ago and traded my 2-bed flat for a 3-bedroom house with a drive and huge garden. Everyone in London was saying, don't do it. And he was laughing, saying, once you move out of London, you can't come back. I said, I ain't coming back. You're spot on, sir. My dad was a plant driver for the now destroyed British steel industry, and my mom was a full-time housewife. They had 5 kids, and he bought a 4-bedroom semi-detached house in 1980 for just £15,000. It was a different world. I'm a 54-year-old structural engineer, and I just about survive. Just. These guys are spot on. I left the UK 29 years ago. I see this coming. Sold my house and my cars and my bikes to travel through 43 countries, now living in Vietnam. Best thing I ever done. This is real talk. I just sold my flat for £155,000. 9 years in there. After all the solicitor's bills and real estate bills from the sale, I now got £60,000. Moved back in with my dad, and I'm terrified to get back on the ladder. My missus left me during COVID, and everything went downhill. Once I had to pay 100%. I'm tempted to just buy a van and F off out of this country. This man speaks the truth. He said, and this guy says, don't forget that the 5 years to save £27,000 for the 10% deposit. In those 5 years, the property price increases by like 25 to 50%, so the deposit will never be reached. Yeah. This one is wild. If you have a caravan, it's over £500 a week just for a patch of grass to park it on now. We can't even afford to go on caravan holiday. That's crazy. Just remember what I said earlier. More people rely on charity for food and shelter. You have to wait longer for healthcare. Everybody's working in this low growth, low wage economy, and they live in a society that has more crime, locks more people up, more people are on medication, and we share less prosperity amongst ourselves. It's concentrated in the top 1%. Thoughts on that? Anyways, appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be reading through your comments as usual. Thanks so much for recommending this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.